بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. Alhamdulillah, we've had a lot of great sessions today and a lot of different topics have been covered all pertaining to the blessed month of Ramadan. One thing that I wanted to kind of start with, and I feel this kind of ties a lot of the things together that we've been talking about. For instance, preparing for Ramadan itself, the characteristics of a true Muslim, tasting the sweetness of faith, and then what to do after Ramadan as well. One thing that really helps us understand what the real objective and the essence of fasting is something very interesting that I found from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. First of all, like I mentioned in my previous session, the Prophet ﷺ tells us to make sure that we wake up for suhoor in the morning. And then he says, فَإِنَّ فِي السُّحُورِ بَرَكَةً, there's blessing, barakah, when you wake up for suhoor in the morning. And another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says the difference between the fasting of this ummah and the fasting of the Ahlul Kitab is aklat suhoor, is to eat the food in the morning, to wake up in the morning and eat something before you begin to fast. Now I want you to think about that for a moment. If you try to rationalize the concept of fasting, not eating and drinking, feeling hunger and thirst, wouldn't you feel hungrier and wouldn't you be thirstier if you didn't eat suhoor? Absolutely. Suhoor makes it easier to fast. Suhoor makes it easier to fast. That's why in the Quran Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ اللَّهُ الْيُسْرَ وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرَ. Allah doesn't want difficulty for you, He wants ease for you. And then similarly, if fasting all the way from the time of Fajr, from the break of dawn, all the way till sunset, if it has so much reward, once again, if I approach it very rationally, very logically, then if I'm able to keep fasting from Maghrib all the way, I don't open my fast at Maghrib, I keep fasting all the way to the Isha, wouldn't my reward naturally be increased? I mean, logic says sure, but that's not the point here. The Prophet ﷺ has emphasized so much. He says, لا يزال الناس بخير ما عجل الفطر. That the Prophet ﷺ says that people will always remain upon that which is good as long as they hasten in breaking and opening their fast once the time comes in. There was an incident about two companions related. They were talking about two people, Abdullah bin Mas'ud and another person. And they were saying, MashaAllah, both of these men are excellent people. And they fast very good, very properly. But one of them, Abdullah, radiallahu anhu, as soon as the time for Maghrib comes, he immediately opens his fast. But the other one delays it. So when the Sahabi heard this, he said, هَكَذَا كَانَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. That's how the Prophet ﷺ used to do it. You wouldn't even waste a minute. As soon as the time for iftar came, he'd open his fast. The Prophet ﷺ says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَحَبُّ عِبَادِي إِلَيَّ أَعْجِلُهُمْ فِطْرًا. Out of all my slaves, Allah says, the one whom I love the most, the ones who are most beloved to me are the ones who open their fast as soon as the time comes in. And on and on and on. What this leads us to understand is that the essence of fasting is obedience. Obedience. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, when I tell you to stop eating and drinking and observe the fast, then do it. Give up food and water because I said so. Even though it's completely permissible, it's completely allowed, it's halal. But give it up because I'm telling you to give it up right now. And then as soon as the time of Maghrib comes, Allah is saying, I want you to eat. I want you to drink water. And thank me, so do it now. That's how you show your gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not by keeping on persisting, by not eating and drinking, but eat something, drink something now. Obedience is the essence. And this answers the question that's been posed to us here in this session. Ramadan's over, what do I do now? this answers that question. Because like I mentioned in the first session, Ramadan is literally a camp. It's a training of 1 month. For what? The obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If I learn to truly be obedient, be very particular, be very keen as to what my Creator wants from me, and what does He want me to stay away from. Then once Ramadan ends, that's what I have to do. That's the course of action. That's the game plan. That's the strategy. Persist on, continue on with this sense of obedience, this spirit of obedience. Because Ramadan has ended. Ramadan is done. But this is something very basic, very simple. Ramadan has gone. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is still my Lord. Still my Master, my Lord. Still watching over me. Hearing everything, seeing everything, knowing everything. And I still have to answer to Him. That's why the Prophet ﷺ, to make us understand, the Quran, one of the key messages in the Quran is the sense of accountability. A very, very particular sense of accountability. One of the key concepts of the Quran. There's a passage in Surah Al-Haqqa in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions 2 groups of people. One is successful and one is a complete failure. And both of these groups of people, the indication of their success or failure in that particular passage is the book of deeds. How is the book of deeds delivered to them? وَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ بِيَمِينِهِ فَيَقُولُ هَاؤُمْ. This is like an exclamation. Hey, 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 hey. It's like an exclamation. اقرأوا كتابي. Look at this. Read this. And then the other group, وَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ بِشِمَالِهِ. Another group will be given their book of deeds in their left hand. A sign of their disgrace, their humiliation, and their ruin and destruction. فَيَقُولُ يَا لَيْتَنِي لَمْ أُوتَ كِتَابِيَهْ. I wish I was never even given this book. Well, what's very important for us to note is that there's like a subtle dialogue here. It's like when these people go around showing their book to everyone. Look at my book. I'm successful. Somebody's going to ask them, how'd you get here? How were you able to receive your book in your right hand? What did you do? What's your secret? What's your secret? What did you do? Share. This person will say, إِنِّي ظَنَنْتُ أَنِّي مُلَاقٍ حِسَابِي. I never forgot. I never let myself forget the fact that I will be held accountable one day. And that other group, when they'll curse themselves, they will literally curse themselves. I wish I was never ever given this book. They'll also be asked, what happened? You were perfectly, you were contributing. I mean, you were a very, nothing was wrong with you. You were a decent person. You were educated. You had a job. You went about life in a very productive manner. But why did you fail so miserably today? And he'll answer. He'll say, وَلَمْ أَدْرِ مَا حِسَابِيَهْ. Same thing. I forgot that I will be held accountable today. I let myself forget this. So what I was saying is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is still there. Allah is still watching over us. We still have to answer to Him for our deeds. The Prophet ﷺ tells us, مَا مِنْ رَجُلٍ إِلَّا سَيُكَلِّمُهُ رَبُّهُ. Every single person, a day is coming when their Lord will address them. He will speak to them. لَيْسَ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَهُ تُرْجُمَانٍ. The Prophet ﷺ says there will be no translator, no intermediary between the two of them. Directly, Allah will speak to them and ask them, what did you do? لا يزال قدم ابن آدم حتى يسأل عن أربع. He'll have to answer for things. عن عمره فيما أفناه وعن شبابه فيما أبلاه. How'd you live your life? How'd you spend your youth? Where'd you earn your money? Where'd you spend it? How much of your knowledge did you practice? So the Prophet ﷺ says Allah will speak to every person. But when this person is asked to answer, فَيَنْظُرُ عَنْ يَمِينِهِ, he'll look to his right. فَلَا يَرَى إِلَّا مَا قَدَّمَ مِنْ عَمَلِهِ, he'll only see his own actions. فَيَنْظُرُ عَنْ شِمَالِهِ, he'll look to the left. فَلَا يَرَى إِلَّا مَا قَدَّمَ, he'll only see his own actions. فَيَنْظُرُ بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ, he'll look in front of him. فَلَا يَرَى إِلَّا النَّارَ تِلْقَاءَ وَجْهِهِ, he'll see the fire of hell burning and blazing before his face. So the Prophet ﷺ says, what beautiful advice. فَاتَّقُوا النَّارَ وَلَوْ بِشِقِّ تَمْرَةٍ, save yourself from the fire of hell. And it doesn't require a lot, even if it's half a date. Even if it's half a date. You have one date, eat half of it, break it in half, eat half of it, give half of it away to the pot. Give it to a hungry person. Give it to someone in need. It's very simple. It's very easy. Just being conscious, being mindful, being aware of what we're doing. That's the game plan for after Ramadan. Salat is still 5 times a day. The masjid is still the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Quran is still the source of guidance and blessing from Allah. The Prophet ﷺ is still our role model and our exemplar. Nothing's changed. Why do we change? Why does our situation change? Let's go forward. Let's persist. Let's keep that same energy and that same spirit. And the Prophet ﷺ tried to impart this to us. He tried to teach us, and that's why he told the Sahaba. And he told us, من صام رمضان ثم أتبعه بست من شوال كان كصيام الدهر. You got done fasting in Ramadan? Hold on, there's more. MashaAllah, that's good. You fasted Ramadan, excellent. But there's more. Fast 6 more days from the month after Ramadan. Don't hang up the fast. Don't pack it away, tie it up and say, I'll see you next Ramadan. 6 days in the month of Shawwal, fast those. You'll get the reward of fasting the entire year. The 10 days, the 10 first days of Dhul Hijjah. The Prophet says, مَا مِنْ أَيَّامٍ الْعَمَلُ الصَّالِحُ فِيهَا حَوْ إِلَى اللَّهِ مِنْ هَذِهِ الْأَيَّامِ. He said that there are no days in which Allah loves good deeds to be done by His slaves more than these 10 blessed days. The 10 days of the Hijjah. There's so many things that we can continue with, but we have to make it effort. So strive this Ramadan. This is the blessing of Allah. That we're talking about this now instead of the last Friday of Ramadan. Or we're talking about this the last couple of days of Ramadan. Or we're talking about this even worse after Ramadan is gone. Because now we can spend this Ramadan with this objective in mind. I'm going to build a connection with my Creator. I'm going to really understand who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. I'll tell you a beautiful incident, very interesting incident. A companion of the Prophet ﷺ, this is how the Prophet ﷺ taught them, how he trained them, and how they understood things, and how they internalized these concepts. The Prophet ﷺ passed by a Bedouin man, and he was making dua in his prayer. And he was praising and glorifying Allah in his dua, in his prayer. And he said, Ya la tarahul uyun, O you who eyes cannot witness in this world. وَلَا تُخَالِطُهُ الظُّنُونَ, and minds cannot comprehend your greatness. وَلَا يَصِفُهُ الْوَاصِفُونَ, and people cannot praise you as you deserve to be praised. وَلَا تُغَيِّرُهُ الْحَوَادِثِ, the incidents and the occurrences of this world do not bring about a change in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is the initiator of change. وَلَا يَخْشَى الدَّوَائِرِ, he does not fear the trials and the tribulations of time. يَعْلَمُ مَثَاقِيلَ الْجِبَالِ, he knows the exact weight of the mountains of the world. وَمَكَائِلَ الْبِحَارِ, he knows the exact volume of the oceans of the world. وَعَدَدَ قَطْرِ الْأَمْطَارِ, he knows the exact number of drops of rain that fall from the sky. وَعَدَدَ وَرْقِ الْأَشْجَارِ, he knows the exact number of leaves on all the trees of the entire world. وَعَدَدَ مَا أَظْلَمَ عَلَيْهِ اللَّيْلُ وَمَا أَشْرَقَ عَلَيْهِ النَّهَارِ, he knows the exact number and the details of everything. The day illuminates with its light and the night hides in its darkness. وَلَا تُوَارِ مِنْهُ سَمَاءٌ سَمَاءً, one sky cannot hide another sky from Allah. وَلَا أَرْضٌ أَرْضًا, one earth, one ground cannot hide another ground from Allah. وَلَا جَبَلٌ مَا فِي وَعْرِي. A mountain in its deepest, darkest caves cannot hide anything from Allah. وَلَا بَحْرٌ مَا فِي قَعْرِهِ. And the ocean in its depths and its darknesses cannot hide anything from Allah. And then he makes his prayer, he makes his supplication. Look at the focus. Look at what he's aspiring to. He's understood it. He says, Allahumma ja'al khayra umri akhirah. Oh Allah, make the best part of my life the last part of my life. Wa khayra amali khawatimahu. Make the best of my actions the last of my actions that I do in this world. Wa khayra ayyami yawma alqaka fi. And make the best of my days the day that I will leave this world and come back to meet you. This is the spirit we need to build during Ramadan, and this exactly is the game plan after Ramadan. Inshallah, continue. Develop a relationship with the Quran, as the speaker was talking about before. Develop a relationship. Become a student of the life of the Prophet ﷺ. Read his life, learn his life, emulate his life. Become a student of the Islamic knowledge itself. Start small, but start somewhere. Maybe start attending the Imam's Arabic classes. Attend the weekly Seerah class. Attend the weekly Tafsir class. Build a relationship with the masjid. Just come and hang out at the masjid sometimes. Perform salat, just sit with your friends. Just hang out with your friends. But build a relationship with the house of Allah. Develop good company and good friends. Use this Ramadan to identify other people in your community that you can relate to, but also have the similar goals and the similar interests that you do. And that should be deen. That should be Islam. That should be pleasing Allah. And inshallah, continue on with this after the month of Ramadan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the ability to practice everything that was said and heard. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi.